there. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're a pharmacist, you've recently received a job offer, you've applied to a job, but you're not sure about this offer that you've just received and you want to know what to do with it. I have had quite a few DMs from people who want to know what to do with their job offers, and I'm just here to make a video so that it's accessible to as many people as need it in the future. I will be reading a sample of a DM that I have just recently received, and I will be telling you what I advised the person as well as what the outcome was in the end. So stay tuned and keep watching. Alright, let's get straight into this video. You applied for this job, you've gone through the interviewing process. I believe at this point you should have actually looked into the job role and the employer, but let's just assume that you didn't do these, right? Gone through the job interview process and now you've been given an offer, which means that they actually liked you at the interview. So the first thing that you need to look at is the company, the business. Who have you applied to? Who is giving you this job offer? As a pharmacist, you're either applying to a private organization or a government funded organization or public funded organization. So you need to look at, like, what do they stand for? What are their core values? What do people say about them? You can go on LinkedIn, find people who have worked in roles with this same company, regardless of who they are. If you can, send them DMs. How did you find this? Or there's this amazing tool called Glassdoor, which I'm sure a lot of you probably know about. Go on Glassdoor, type in, like, what do employees say about this company? That can give you an idea as to if you actually want to work for the company or not. I'll have to be honest with you, I've accepted a job offer in the past where I saw reviews on Glassdoor that were saying that they were actually not that great employers, and I still went ahead and accepted the job offer because the money was good, right? But I regretted it because I forgot to think about what was more important to me. Was it money or was it peace of mind? Now that's one thing you need to do about finding out about the company. Is really crucial to knowing whether you want to accept to work with this company or not. Another thing that's really important when it comes to finding out who you're working for is if you find out that at the end of the day you're working for a company who has regimented pay scales, for example the NHS that's public funded, you know already that whatever they've put on that offer, there's only so far that you can negotiate it, if at all there's any room for negotiation. So yeah, understand the company first and foremost before you consider accepting an offer. Now the second thing you need to look at is the job role. Now pick the job role apart. Find out what exactly they want you to do. If you don't already understand this from looking at the job description when you applied, or even from asking questions at the interview, look at the job role. Sometimes you might actually have interviewed for one role, but then they end up giving you another if they feel like you're qualified enough. Look into that job role. If it's something that you're unfamiliar with, again, LinkedIn is your best friend. Go on LinkedIn and find out if there's anyone who has worked in this role. You can actually send people DMs. You may get a few people that don't respond to you, but there's a good chance that someone would respond to your question, right, and let you know what you want to know. Find out if this job role suits you. If it suits you, then go right ahead. If it doesn't, honey, it's not the end of the world. You don't have to say no straight away. You can still consider. The third thing you need to think about is this job role. Are you willing to learn about it? Are you willing to learn on the job? If it's something that you are completely new to, do you have the capacity to go in and learn about this job? Does the employer strike you as someone who will give you the room to make mistakes, fail, until you get competent enough to do this job role independently, right? Do you have the bandwidth to go into something and just start learning afresh? If no, then just look away. I would advise you to just step away from this job offer. But if you feel like, yes, you actually want to learn something new, you're at the point where you are learning, you're trying to refine your skills, you're trying to gain more skills, then yeah, go ahead. If you feel like this job role is something that would work towards you getting to your long-term career goals, but you also need to make sure that the employer is ready to give you room to learn about this new role. So I suppose that you would have been honest enough to let them know that this role that they're offering you, you are not quite familiar with it, but you are ready to learn. So let them actually tell you by themselves. There's nothing wrong in asking. Ask them and let them tell you by themselves that they will support you through learning about this new role. For example, when I went into being a pharmacy manager, I did mention that I hadn't had any experience in the past about this role, and I would be needing support to be able to get to a place where I feel competent and confident enough to manage the team. And I was told that I would get the support that I needed. I would implore you to get this in writing, because I didn't get it in writing in my own time, and when it came down to it, I didn't get the support that I requested. So if you had it in writing, at least you have something to take to your employer and say, well, you said you were going to give me support. What kind of support exactly are you trying to offer? This is the kind of support I need to be able to do this job role well. So yes, if you don't know about the role, find out if you're capable of learning, and find out if your employer is willing to support you with learning until you are confident and competent. So the next thing that you need to think about when you want to assess a job offer is the work environment. What does the work environment look like? Is it one that you are used to? Is it something you have worked in before? Do you feel like you'll be fairly confident enough to walk in and be okay in that job environment? Or even if it's somewhere you've worked in before, you have an idea of how many people you would need on a team for you to be efficient. Find out from the employer, what's the team like? What's the structure of the team? What's my role in the team? How do I fit in with the team? Or go on Glassdoor and you would see people talking about the company's work environment. So you either find out that, oh, they expect you to work long hours, or the employers are hostile, or the team members mostly are hostile. Go on Glassdoor, it's all there. Make sure you find out about this before you say yes or no to a job offer, because if you find out information that means that you would not fit well into that environment and you don't run away from that offer, you're setting yourself up for failure, I promise you. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is the offer. Right? So what exactly have they written in the offer? We've talked about the employer, we've talked about the job role, we've talked about the work environment. Now, what's in this offer? Usually the offer should contain the job role. So find out if the job role is what you applied for or what you agreed to at the interview. If it isn't, then you are within your rights to question the employer. The second thing is the salary. Is the salary what you discussed? If you didn't discuss the salary and they've just offered it to you, are you willing to accept that salary? Don't just imagine that whatever they've put on the offer is what you're going to take, because again, you will be setting yourself up for failure. Community pharmacy, which is what I'm mostly familiar with, has a range of salary that they can offer to certain team members. They would always offer you the lowest. Based on your experience, you can always decide whether you want to accept that salary or not, based on your experience as well as based on the environment that you're living in. Is this environment, is this the kind of amount of money that they're paying to people in this role, in this area? Find out. If it's not, then you don't have to say yes to it, right? So salary, and then conditions around your work. Like, are you expected to work every day of the week? Is that what you want? Are you expected to work weekends? Are you expected to work bank holidays? Are you expected to work outside of your working hours without pay? Find out all these things and ask yourself truthfully, does this sit well with me? So there might be one of two reasons why you are looking for a new job. So you either need a job for financial security, or you're looking for another role to help you further your progression towards your long-term career goals. Does this job, according to everything they've written there, does it fit in with your lifestyle, and does it cover one of these two things? Does it cover your finances, or does it cover your progression towards your long-term career goals? If it does not cover one of these two things as well as fit in with your lifestyle, then honey, you might want to decide to not accept that offer on the spot. Now, I'm not saying that you should say no to the offer and that's just it, right? One thing you need to know is that there's always room for negotiation in most jobs. An exception to this is if you have been given an offer by the NHS and you're being paid under the NHS agenda for change pay scale and you're put on a band. Know that you are very, in fact, it's impossible to negotiate it. It's really impossible. So you have to accept whatever they have offered and then work towards perhaps jumping up the band sooner rather than later, or moving to another band sooner rather than later if you want to increase your salary or your remuneration, right? But other things that pertain to the job role, you can negotiate. You can negotiate your time, your hours, you can negotiate. Don't forget that you've not accepted this job offer, right? So you still have the power in your hands because you now know that the employer likes you. So the ball is now in your court. The power is in your hands to decide if what they're offering you fits well with you. If they like you well enough, they will be willing to meet you somewhere in the middle. If it's something they definitely cannot do, they will let you know that we can't do this based on XYZ, but we can offer you this instead. So don't receive an offer from a job and feel like you just have to accept it. No, you don't. You do not. Especially when it comes to community pharmacy. If they're desperate enough, trust me, they will meet you in the middle. They will meet you in the middle, or they will even come all the way to what you're asking for. Don't forget that you're going to be on probation, and if you find out that this job environment or whatever it is that they've offered you and you've accepted does not work for you, during the probation, it's not only the company that's assessing. You should always be assessing, because a lot of people make the mistake of believing that on probation they're the only ones being monitored. You're also monitoring the company to find out if actually they work well for you. I feel like as pharmacists we need to start speaking up for ourselves, start saying no to unfair working conditions, start saying no to unfair working environments, start saying no to unfair salaries, start saying no to things that do not sound right, that don't give you the satisfaction and fulfillment that you feel like you deserve. And you always need to make sure that as you're asking for all these things and as you're saying all these things and looking for things that you deserve, that you are actually worthy, which means that you are a good, respectable pharmacist who makes sure to do their job to the utmost level of excellence that you can offer. Then you would know that whatever you're asking for, whatever you're saying to these people, you definitely have the right to be saying these things, right? Don't be afraid to say no to the job offer, and don't be afraid to negotiate the job offer, because at the end of the day, in any job, the employer is not the only one trying to find the right fit. You are also trying to find the right fit for yourself and your lifestyle. So at the end of the day, there's so many jobs out there for pharmacists. You don't have to be stuck at that one job because you've been given an offer for it. Or worst case scenario, you can locum until you find the job that fits well for you, right? So as pharmacists, I implore us to just say no. This is going to help us in the long run to create an environment that is conducive for pharmacists to work in. A lot of NHS staff are striking nowadays. I think at some point pharmacists will need to strike because we're complaining a lot but we're not taking action. So this is me like trying to use my voice, right, to make sure that people know that they don't have to stay in unfair working conditions. One day, hopefully, we'll all be able to like collectively use our voices to make a change in the climate of pharmacy practice in the UK. I'm now going to read the DM that I received, just to give you a bit of background. So let's start from the beginning. Hi Faith, I've just come across your videos and recently loved them. Thank you so much. Thank you. Can I just get a quick advice for a job offer that I recently got? And I responded and said, yes, I'll be happy to advise you. Let me know your concerns. The person was like, thank you very much, Faith. Just to give you a bit of background, I'm doing a foundation year with this big chain. Before interview, I was asked what I want in terms of possible position with the company. And I said that I want 4 times a week and I don't want a managerial role, right? The offer is 5 days a week, relief pharmacist, which sounds to me like a manager because they want this person to be in one store. I'm going to be working for one particular store, which seems nobody wants to be a manager there. Red flag. From what I hear since starting pre-reg, that store has been run by locums for more than 2 or 3 years. Sounds to me like there's a really big problem with the store, and it's going to take a very strong-willed person to go and make a difference. So again, like I said, you need to check that job role. Do you feel like you have the capability to do it? And if you feel like you do, but you're not sure how to go about it, or you feel like you need time, is your employer willing to give you that time and space to be able to adapt and grow up to the point that you feel competent and confident enough? Right, so the person says, my expectation was that they were going to offer me less hours and to move through different stores. I feel if I go in that store, I am afraid I am going to have to leave after a few months, and I definitely do not want to work 5 days a week, but I need the job to get some experience. What do you think I should do? So the person also mentioned the hourly rates that they've been offered, but I'm not at liberty to disclose that. But here is my response. So I said, going by your message, you seem to have a pretty good idea of what you absolutely do not want, which is awesome. You have the opportunity to negotiate this offer. You do not have to accept it if it still does not sit well with you. One of the best ways to gain experience as a newly qualified pharmacist is to be a relief pharmacist, which means that you are working in different stores but under one company, because you learn how to work with different people and you learn how different teams work as well, and you find the opportunity to pull what you feel like is best practice into your own practice. So I also said that you need to understand that if you do attempt to negotiate this offer, it can go one of two ways. You can either lose the offer entirely, that's if they refuse to budge and if you also refuse to accept, and two, they can make changes to accept the offer that actually better suit you. If you do decide to negotiate and end up losing the offer, do not forget that you have the opportunity to locum as well while you are job hunting, because I want people to know that you don't have to be tied down to an unfair working condition. You can locum, and that's the beauty of being a healthcare professional. You can locum and not be out of a job until you find something that sits well with you. So I said, locuming is also an amazing way to get good job experience. If you do consider taking this offer, I personally will negotiate the pay depending on how busy the store is. I would also ask to do a trial run for maybe a month to solidify your response. In a month, you might find out that it's not as bad as you imagine. So this trial run could actually be your probation period. In a month, you may find out that it's actually not as bad as you imagined. Or you do find out that you want to run away as fast as you can from this job. Being a pharmacy manager as a newly qualified pharmacist is not for the faint-hearted. I hope I've given you a lot of food for thought. I would like to know what you eventually decide to do. So this person went ahead and responded to me a few days later saying, thank you very much for your advice. Accepted the job offer, but they managed to negotiate a higher rate and 1 day less work. So this fits a bit better with what the person actually envisioned for themselves. So they did not have to accept that initial job offer. Negotiation worked well, and in cases where negotiation does not work well, it's not the end of the world, my darling. You can go and locum, okay? Don't let them make you feel like literally your life is in their hands and you are at their mercy. No, you aren't. No, you aren't. We need to make sure that we're pushing back to make sure that we don't make unfair working conditions the norm in our practice. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've enjoyed making it. I really hope that anyone who is considering accepting an offer and is not really sure about it comes across this video, especially in the field of pharmacy practice, and this video helps you to make a decision that sits well with you in the long run. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.